right. Hopefully everyone can see my screen okay. And we were asked when we all met together, please don't change the forms, don't do major changes. We're already working on this, so we haven't done that, but we have tried to at least freshen it up a little bit. So our plan was to just go through the instructions and look at the forms together. And in the instructions, if you've dove through them before, you'll see the table of contents here. It's pretty much the same thing. Did kind of section some more things out. We'll spend a little bit more time on submissions to make sure everyone's clear on expectations about those. And then we'll just go over the instructions. The page by page, we'll reference other forms if they come up, and then go over the checklist. So that's the plan. Here, let me make this a little bigger just to make sure everyone can see it okay. So I have not changed any of this information here really except for the dates. This time we are coming up on our 4-year plan. So this area plan, oh, is it saying everything I'm typing in there?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. All right, sorry about that. So this area plan should cover the next 4 years from October 1st, 2025 through September 30th, 2029. We still have the due date of August 28th for the plan to be due. And we will communicate to you all when we would like the 2025 final revisions. And this part is the same as well. Outline of the area plan. It needs to be typed, pages numbered, and the plan must contain the table of contents. And we'll also want to make sure that we have the submittal date at the top corner of the plan too. Let me go ahead and do a side by side just to show you that part. I did try to make this in the header. If you double click in the header, if you click on here, you should just be able to choose your PSA from the drop down and it'll update across the header. And the date, you should just be able to click today or the other date. So that is what that part is referencing. And then of course there's page numbers at the bottom that will automatically update. You don't have to type those in each time anymore. Okay. Submissions. I moved this more to its own section and I just really kind of reformatted a little bit to hopefully be a little bit easier to read. So for submissions, we need the original area plan, the area plan supplemental documents that we'll go over, any updates, any revisions, those should all be submitted electronically to the KDAD's OAA SCA inbox. And you'll want to remember to always have electronic signatures on the pages that require that. If you don't have one, you can sign it, the form, scan it, and send it electronically that way as well. And I'll mention this again later, but we would also like for you, if you do it that way, to send us just a PDF document that hasn't been scanned through a copier, because that's easier to navigate when we're looking for information. You know, something that we can control F through and find things.
Hey, Heather.
Yes.
It looks like Susan has a question.
Okay.
Susan does not, but somebody else in the room with her does.
This is Leslie. Would you go up to page 1 again, please? Page right, okay, whoops, back. Page through, because overview is, okay. So where it says area plan time frame in there, the final revision for FFY 2025 must be submitted when requested by KDADS. There probably needs to be a time frame in there, like 10 days or something like that. So then it's not, hey, in 2 days you have to have the area plan to us.
Well, we always give that amount. This is an exact copy of the text of the area plan for the last 20 years. I did not change that part.
Okay, but from just because everything is up in the air as far as those changes and things like that, it really seems reasonable to have a time frame in there. You may not be here the next time the area plan is due, right? Nor some of the folks at the AAAs that are working on the area plan. So it would be really good to have that time frame in there.
All right, thank
Instead of,
you for that
happen.
feedback. We can look at that part later. I do want to keep moving since we do have a lot to cover in an hour and a half. Maybe going forward, we'll just put the questions in the chat and then we can look over those at the end.
Sounds good.
Thanks. All right, where was I? Submissions. Okay, so part I wanted to spend a little bit of time on is the transmittal letter. That is not a KDOTS form. It is as something that often would be on your agency's official letterhead. But it's basically, it's telling us what is going on in this. It's especially helpful for revisions so that we know exactly what you're changing and where, so we know right where to look and there's no confusion. So that's where number one comes from, what changes are being made. So in this situation for the new 4-year cycle, you'll certainly be wanting to present, why is the revision required? Well, it's not a revision. This is introducing our new 4-year area plan. I would certainly say highlight maybe some major differences from your previous 4-year cycle plan would be very helpful. And if there are some big changes in the cost or service levels, that would also be good for us to highlight so we know to look at that. Why funding changes might be made. And also date of governing bodies approval. It used to say date of board approval. I did change the instructions to say governing bodies approval because that is actually what we truly do need. So hopefully that clears up some of the questions we had the last time about what date you need to see on there, since you know, every agency's government body is structured a little differently. Cody, anything to add to the transmittal letter?
Nope, I think that covered it all.
All right, great. So yeah, that's really helpful to just let us know where to look, what the major things are you want us to focus on. And as revisions happen, that's really key to let us know so that we can go right to the spots that you've updated to look at those so we can get through the revisions faster. And then also all submissions must include the fiscal year 2016 budget pages, which will be available. They weren't ready quite yet. There is a work group that KDAD's Fiscal has with some of the AAA fiscal managers so that we can make that budget form better. However, we did not want to delay presenting to you the non-fiscal forms any further. I know there's probably already a lot of information you have ready to plug into it. And then the other thing to call out with submissions, that if you're doing an annual update or a revision, that there's a few other pages we also would like you to submit each time. And we'll look at those pages in just a moment, but they're the application for grant award, verification of application, and that transmittal letter that we just spoke about. And this is pretty much just lets us know the application for grant award. It lets us know, is this an update or revision? Things like that. Verification of application, that page is basically letting us know that your governing body is approving of these changes, and that transmittal letter is what's lets us know what did you change. So that's why those pages are very important for us to receive each time. So to that note, if you do a revision, if you don't change a lot of your area plan, you don't have to send the entire packet to us again. You can just send the parts of your area plan that you've updated so that it's easy for everyone to see what the changes were. And anything else to add to that, Cody?
Nope. Just for my stuff, I know people had to include the AP program characteristic every time. So that's kind of what Heather's saying is we won't need that every single time if it doesn't relate to your change.
So we hope that just making it really clear which pages we need and you don't have to submit all the extra pages will help reduce time that we all spend on those revisions going forward. This note here, the pages that appear to be for a revision that are not accompanied by a transmittal letter, I did not change that text again. I didn't change, I don't think, any of the text in this. I just reformatted it a little bit. So none of this is new, except, and that AP program characteristics form, I don't think that was even listed in these instructions either. So now there's at least clarification truly in these instructions, what all we need for those submissions. But if you ever have any questions, please feel free to ask us. So next, definitions. Please do take a moment to read over these. They haven't changed, but it's good to make sure that we're all clear on what they are. Like we have the definition for an annual update. That's the second, third, and fourth year budgets and amendments to your approved 4-year plan. Like a revision, it's something that you're doing mid-year. Right now we're working on the original area plan for our 4-year cycle. And that is a part that we do update in these instructions, the effective date of the plan. We have it listed right here for you, so there's no confusion on what this should cover. Also, I did make sure that this link was updated. I'll double check one more time because things have been getting updated a lot recently to make sure that's good, but this can give you more information about evidence-based programs. So that's all I'll cover with that. I'm not going to read that all to you. But I did try to make sure all these links to like the federal regulations are all up to date. Like here's where that revision is. It's an amendment or change to an approved area plan. So we're going to go into the instructions. Again, I didn't change these instructions very much except for just trying to add some clarification and a little bit of reformatting. I think I'm going to try to do a side by side and see if that'll work for everyone. Does that, or is that too hard to see?
I can see it on my end, but I'm not sure for other folks for like other screens.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
It's okay for us. We're on an 84-inch TV, so.
All right, you're good then. Perfect. Okay, well, we'll just go through it side by side. So again, I didn't change it except trying to make it look a little better. So we're going to have it to where there's only certain spots for you to update. So you'll know where to go. Like this part doesn't need to change, this doesn't need to change. The only part on the cover page for your grant application is you click here and type the name of your agency. This is probably what you're going to do last, is include this signature of the director and the submittal date. So the previous instructions did not have any instructions on the cover page, so that part is new. I figured we should address that. And the header, it does go over what I mentioned earlier, so I won't go over that again. Just choose your PSA number, and the date is supposed to be the submittal date. I think that was something I added as well before the instructions just said date. So now there should be no question on what this date in your header is supposed to be. So for revision, when you do that, only those pages that you update would have a new date. The table of contents, before you had to enter the numbers manually, we're not doing that anymore. So if you click on the table of contents and you click Update Table, it will let you either update page numbers only or update entire table. It really won't matter which one you choose for our purpose, but just, at the end before you submit this, make sure you update this because you're going to add information. So there's going to be more page numbers than what we have here right now. So hopefully that'll save everyone a little time having to manually do that. And then we're going to go down to the application for grant award. I did try to also in the instructions clearly say this form is required for each submission, so that's clear to you which ones. And again, you're just going to enter the name of your agency here. Contact information, none of this is new either. I just tried to organize a little bit more. I also tried to make it to where you didn't have to guess as much what to put. So like for type of organization, if you tap on here, then you can click on the drop down and you can choose public or private nonprofit. Before, those were check boxes that you'd have to check. So now it's just a drop down. Same thing for type of application, it's just a drop down now. We are going to be, everyone will be selecting the original for this one for your 4-year cycle. And then again, annual updates, year 2, year 3, year 4. Revision is a mid-year update. So, we're coming up on having the actual allocations, being able to transfer between B, C1, C2. Those will be revisions when you submit those to us. So I hope that helps clear up what do I pick when I pick the type of application. Dates of area plan fiscal years, you just tap to enter the date now. And there is a note here, you enter the years for the current 4-year cycle. So for this one that we're going into, you'll go ahead and put October 1st of 2025 through, let me make sure I'm doing this right, and you can scroll right back up like I'm doing when you're working on this, through September 30th, 2029. So just make sure I have those date ranges on here and we'll be good. And then the date for the budget year, grantee budget year, I tried to make that to where it's easier to figure out what to put here as well, you can only put 2 digits here. So for this one, it'll be fiscal year 2026. Because sometimes I'd see there'd be a number of different things put there, and I think it was just confusing to know what we were looking for. And this is also not, this part's not new, the official authorized to sign for grantee organization. So this page shouldn't be too bad to fill out, hopefully, and when you update it, really probably the only things that you're going to be sending us when this is required for each submission would be changing it to a revision. That's probably about it, honestly. Cody, anything to add to this one?
Negative.
All right. Moving right along, the electronic submission application. We didn't have anything on the instructions for this, but there is something we want you to do here. So I did just put enter the name of the applicant agency. That goes in this little gray box here. I probably should have covered this at the beginning, but anything you can edit, it'll have either a click or tap here or choose an item or just that kind of standard fillable gray box that you're used to seeing. So just make sure you put in your name there. This basically states that you will be, oh, see, always finding something to change. I tell you what, 2026 area plan. So that was something that I think you all maybe had to edit there. I'm not sure. In any case, I just fixed that. And I think everything else is good on this one. That's the only thing on that page is just saying you're going to submit electronically. And then we're on verification of application. This is another one that is required for each submission, please. And you will fill out your area agency name. The pages 1 through, I left that blank just because I don't really know how many pages you'll end up having on this. So that is one you'll still need to fill in. And then the director signs and dates, and then we also have a spot for the AAA Advisory Council or Governing Board, and governing body of the AAA has reviewed and signed. So this is basically where we're collecting all the signatures to say that everyone who needs to see this has reviewed and approves it. So when you do revisions, we will be looking for an updated signature date that will let us know that these 3 entities have viewed and approved those changes. But I did not change anything on this form, I don't think at all, except again, just kind of cleaning up the formatting on it. Same thing with certification regarding lobbying. This is not new and nothing was changed here except for just cleaning up formatting. And contracts with profit-making organizations. This is not a form, but this is something that was in the instructions. And I think it does kind of tie into also this here, the certification for contracts, grants, loans, and cooperative agreements. So just signing that everyone's going to do the right thing. Happens here at the Older Americans Act Assurances of Compliance. Now, one thing that's a little different with this one is that these forms haven't been updated for like 25 years, but about, maybe in the last area plan cycle, it looks like the information requirements section 3 responses were added, and they were embedded, I think, right around in here in the middle of the original compliance document. So we have now separated those out. That's more like how we submit our state plan. Those items are separate. So this is really going back a little bit more to what those of you who've been around for a long time were used to. You'll just fill out the name here and here. And this shows that you're going to follow all the assurances and/or provisions in section 306 and 307 of the OAA, which goes over what the area agencies do, and all federal state laws and all this good stuff here. But I have not changed any of this. It is all the same information, same signature. It's just I've pulled out those information requirements from the little spot that it was in here. And that's now in the next section here. So this, we're still keeping this here because I didn't want to just remove this without talking about it. And there are information requirements and responses that we as a state do provide the federal government as well. So we just have probably, these aren't going to change much from your prior responses. Now you'll just click or tap in here to enter that information. But there were no changes to the information requirements. Responses just moved to a new section. Assurances of compliance under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This form was not changed either. Again, just formatting cleanup. You'll put your agency name here. Make sure you have the right official signing here, putting their title here and date here. So that kind of goes through all the assurances. That's the section. These are all the assurances that we're going to do what we need to do with the federal funds. Cody, anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so next, waivers. I did not change anything here either. But what I did change on the instructions is I added information on the 3E adequate proportion waiver. This actually, I found these instructions they came from Lacey Vaughn. It looked like they were actually an amendment to the area plan instructions, but they never got put into those instructions in the next year. So we're getting them in here now for you. So hopefully that will clear up what's going on with E. So for direct services, if you want to provide them, there's basically two different types, and one requires a form and one does not require a form. One, where's that part here? There we go. If you want to provide services directly related to administrative functions and the transmittal letter, that is where you request that. And if you want to provide direct non-administrative services, we have provisions here, then the direct service waiver request form must be included. And that form has not changed. Here it is though. So we haven't made any changes to this form at all. So hopefully that will be helpful. And the field service manual, we do have in the instructions here, see field service manual section 7.1.3 for the instructions on the requirements if you want to provide the service directly. So I'm not going to go deeply in depth on those particular instructions, but if you do have any questions on those as you work on this, please let us know. And also another important thing to note is that direct service waivers not granted in the original area plan that we're currently working on must be resubmitted annually to ensure the current grant year direct service waiver approval. So this year, any of them that you put in for the upcoming fiscal year, if approved, they'll be approved for your entire 4-year cycle. And if there's others that come up later, yes, Kelsey, the form can be embedded in the document. We'll test that out to make sure it can. If not, you can just submit it as a separate attachment. We'll play with that real quick though.
Heather, can you make that a fillable form, the waiver form? Because it's wonky when you type in the spaces, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, I think, if I recall correctly.
Oh, it needs a little formatting magic after all. Okay.
Yep, I think so.
I will do that then.
If you don't get to it, we'll deal with it, but that would be great if you can.
Yeah. I love updating forms, so you just gave me a fun project to do, honestly. Thank you for mentioning that. And I'm actually going to write that down to make sure I do not forget, because I think I won't forget, but I probably will. Okay. So the 3E adequate proportion waiver, we do have in the field service manual those adequate proportions that I think have been around since about 2013, 2014. And we decided to not make any sudden changes on those till we can have a thoughtful and meaningful discussion about it and see what the needs are. But in the meantime, if your area cannot meet those adequate proportion requirements, you do have an option to submit a waiver. And you will submit that within the transmittal letter of the initial area plan. It should include a statement of the request of the requirements. So let me know which service category we're looking at that you're unable to meet that required percentage. And then we need to know why the service category, why we can't meet that. And then let us know how your agency is intending to make sure that those service needs are met. And really what it comes down to within the Act, those 5 major service categories, we need to make sure that throughout the state we do provide those services somehow. And if the AAA is not contracting with any providers for that, if you're ensuring that it is happening by, for example, knowing that there is a really robust support group at a, mental health agency that everyone goes to, for example, so there's no need for you to budget that. Just an example. Things like that, but we basically will need to be able to say, if ever asked, why isn't this service being provided here? We need to have a good reason why. So hopefully that all makes sense. And we do also have a note that if you are requesting it, you'll need to indicate if it's for caregivers, grandparents, or both. And I might actually, well, no. Technically, the grandparents, it's older relative caregiver. I've been doing some digging in this one recently. But let us know if it's just for the family caregivers that you're trying to do, if this is for, if it's for those older relative caregivers with grand families. situations like that. I think I'll take a peek at the chat. Was there any other? Nope, no other questions on the waivers right now. If you do have questions on it, let us know and we will be happy to work with you on it. Determination of needs. This was just a blank spot for you to put this in and format it as you see fit. We've tried to make sure the way this is fillable, that it's the rich text format so that you can make it however you need to. But this is where you describe the needs of older individuals, how it was determined, and how individuals 60 years of age and older provided input into those proposed services. And I won't read all of this out to you, but basically let us know how you came about this. Tell us the story. Tell us what the needs are. And I would also say, especially for these upcoming sections, also think about how you present it from a reviewer's standpoint. We are looking at 11 of these and we're going to try to do it as fast as we can. Make sure that it's easy for us to see what we need to see. And I think before in the instructions, this was kind of all in a paragraph. I've just outlined it. Just make it real easy for us to know that you have hit each of these points for all of these. That'll check the box. At least it'll help. And this is really another thing also worth suggesting. If there's anything you're a little bit unsure about, you could always send us a quick email. Hey, look at this little spot. Is this kind of what you're looking for or not? We're happy to do little things like that to let you know if you're on the right track of what we're looking for before your official submission. And area agency priorities, same thing. This can be a service, community activity, or administrative function that you'll be focusing on. You can list more than one. These priorities may or may not be funded through OAA, but please make sure you list what the priority is and how it was determined in some of those major activities. And description of the AAA and its activities. So again, you should just be able to type in what you need here. But this should be all activities of the AAA, whether funded by public or private funds. And make sure that we see in your description a listing of the program and services provided, your role, where and how they're provided. Give us the picture of your agency. This should be something after we look at that, we could go, okay, I know how this agency operates, the things that it does. I know that it does all these other things besides just OAA. Paint the picture. And, I would also say here too, if there's any attachments that help describe any of this, feel free to put those in. Anything that helps explain it. Sometimes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It doesn't have to all be text. Could be pictures, could be charts. However is easiest for you to convey this. Determination of unmet needs and planning. This will help us know this is necessary for us to forecast the expected financial expenditures. We basically want to get a picture of, how many customers are not getting their needs met. What would it take to meet their needs? And any data you can put behind this too would be really helpful. This section right here is one that we can show our leadership at KDADS. This is something, you know, we can show legislature, you know, if they have questions about what is needed. So I wanted to highlight this, that we could really, this could be a really great way for us to summarize what we need. Because if we don't tell them what we need, we're not going to get the help. So please do try to really give us a picture of what the need is out there, if you can. All right. Public hearings on the area plan and annual updates. This is one that always has a lot of questions, and I've done some digging on and got some feedback from our regional administrator with ACL. Oh, I see your note there, Tim. I'll make sure to update that.
Yeah, I was just trying to follow 306. I've been looking at this and I was trying to figure out under that little I and the two little I's, what actually that was focusing on. If that was actually supposed to be C or if that was, and I know it's been in there for years, but it's like, is it supposed to be C? Is it supposed to be D or E? So that was a,
you know, I forgot on the information requirements to show you appendix A.
Yeah, so if you go down to, so it's little a, and then you go down to number 6.
Sorry for scrolling if that's bothering anyone.
Okay.
There's 7. Did I go past it?
You went past it, yeah.
There it is.
So you go 6, and then you've got capital C. Oh, see that one has little 2. So has that been updated recently? Because the one that was sent previously did not have the little.
Yeah, I updated this with what ACL sent us. This is the this is so
Yeah,
there's with the state plans, there's a packet and they have all the assurances in there. So I copied those ones and put that in here since there has been an update.
Yeah,
I wonder if it didn't get updated last area plan. I'm not sure because.
Yeah, and I don't think so. And so when I look at what you've got on there now, that see the little I and the little 2I, that used to be under number 6, capital E. And so they've just updated that. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, well, thank you. And I'm glad that we all talked about this right now together. Because I didn't even cover this part when I was supposed to. So I did go through and make sure that this was up to date. Feel free to double check it though. I always encourage that. But yeah, this is the part for the area plans, what we're looking for, all the beautiful details. So I'll double check and make sure that those area plan responses, that everything's matching up. I think I did that, but I updated that part a while ago. Okay. Also, here's a thing here, this navigation pane. Now, the area plan form, the headers are actually the true headers that they should be, and all of that makes sense. I don't know if anyone else ever uses these on big documents, but it was kind of messy before. So that's all cleaned up. You can actually use this, and this is a nice way to navigate around as you're working on this without scrolling forever. So public hearings on the area plan and annual updates. So we have described the public hearings held and public comments received on the proposed area plan or annual update. You might notice that I don't have the word revision here anymore. There's a reason for that. And you'll also, you'll want to look at the Field Service Manual 711 for the instructions. And I think I actually will bring those up because I think it's worth talking about with all the confusion. Okay. I know this isn't up to date yet. We're working on it, but the public hearing requirements, they're still good from what I've looked at when I was comparing to the Older Americans Act regulations. So you need to hold at a minimum one public hearing on the area plan and the update. Now this could be the same hearing if things are lining up to happen at the same time. Really these hearings, from what I have gathered and from what I've looked at, it's your time to say, hey, here's the plan, here's revisions, here's everything going on with the area plan. This budget might be getting revised or this thing is changing, but just letting the public know here's the plan and giving them that time to comment. And we still have that minimum of 5 days notice of the hearing here. I think a part and maintain a written record of the notice and how it was given. So that gives you your details on the actual public hearing. Now to go to the instructions. Let's get back over here. So the public comment period, you always want to give at least 30 calendar days to. And it kind of goes back, I think, to the Older Americans Act regulations, and maybe I need to fill this out a little bit more because I didn't make changes to this part. Is when do I do this? How much do I need to get the public engaged for different changes? So if you are making changes to like your program goals and objectives, those are big things that would trigger the need for public comment. If you're doing program coordination and development, that specifically does require public comment as well. And that's basically because, let me go ahead and bring those up too while we're at it. Program coordination and development, that's Title 3B is where that can come from, but because that would take away from direct services being provided to older adults, the public needs to be able to have a chance to see that and comment on that and say if that is appropriate to do. Because it's for, really after you've taken care of the house. It's for those newer things, those new programs, bigger, better stuff. So I hope that makes sense. I might regret this, but I'll open it up for questions on program coordination and development right now if you have a few. Or you can put it in the chat too. And I know I had presented some information to you all a while back, and it took a little while for me to see that I had gotten the clearance to be able to share that. So I can share that PowerPoint with you all if you want, because it does have all the OAA regulations in there as well. But I get them pulled up real quick here. Okay, there it is. I mean, as you can see, I use Control F all the time to get around through things. So that's one part, this part here. Here we go. So for the submission of an area plan and area plan amendments to the state agency for approval, definitely take a look at this too. But it has here public participation specifying mechanisms to obtain the periodic views of older individuals, family caregivers, service providers, and the public with the focus on those in greatest economic need and greatest social need, including, here's where that reasonable minimum time frame of at least 30 calendar days, unless a waiver is provided for public review and comment on area plans and area plan amendments. So that amendment word is key as well. And I know in that program coordination and development, there we go. This is the part for the program development and coordination. It has a lot of details about it, but here's the part where it says the general public needs to be able to review and comment on program development and coordination. So that's why I specifically call that out as something that they should be able to comment on. So just like a budget revision, if that's all you're changing. So like with the actual allocation, when you need to make an adjustment to your budget, that does not require public comment. I double checked that with our regional administrator. So I'll say that again. If you're just, yes, I can. And so, yeah, just if you're only changing the budget, I'm not changing my goals, I'm not doing anything major, I just need to adjust it because now we know what we're actually getting from the feds. No public comment needed for that. So hopefully that will greatly speed up turnaround time and greatly reduce your need to do a lot of extra work, because I'll just give me that application for grant award. You probably just need to update one little checkbox and a little date at the top. Verification of application signed. That lets us know that everyone who needs to approve of it approved on how you've updated your budget. And your transmittal letter, that'll let us know exactly where to look on what changed, because we're looking at 11 of these, right? So just tell me, hey, I reduced this here, I increased there because of this change. And, you know, state, hey, we changed this due to the actual allocation being out. And you're not going to need, as Cody had mentioned, you're not going to need to resubmit that AP program characteristics form either. So.
Heather, this is Michelle. Just a quick question. So with that kind of being said, we are going to go ahead and plan on having 3D and having program services and goals under that. And then if in fact 3D isn't funded, then all we'll need to do is revise our budget, right?
Let's double check that and think about that. I mean, so your program service goals, it's a goal. Is it still a goal to have that funded if it changes? Or is it a goal we're changing?
Well, we wouldn't be able to fund it or have it if there was no funding for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, really, goals, steps of achievement, evaluation. We've got this specific part about Title D, don't we? So I think in that case, if it does change, yeah, I mean, a program D, so is the worry that there won't be any program D funding, is that what you're asking, to where all of it would go away?
Correct, yes, because then, you know, obviously I would not be able to contract out that program at all, and we just would not have that be one of our goals for the agency to promote these wellness programs if there's not a funding stream.
Oh, at this point, we are going forward as that is a funding stream and plan to have those goals. But then, yeah, if it changes, that would be a change to program service goals. And it probably would be something good for the public to know happened too. You know, that there's a whole thing we can't fund now that we had a goal for. You know, and that's an unknown, and I don't want to delve too deep into the unknowns, because I mean we could just lose ourselves there. But if it happens, let's talk about it together and we'll figure out what we need to do. How about that?
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. Good question though. All right. So I said I'd open it up. Any more questions about public hearings or comment? And if you don't, and if you want to ask, hey, Heather, does this change mean I have to do this when you have a change coming up? That's fine. You know, I don't want you to guess. Feel free to ask us. All right. We're moving right along. Community focal points. We've got a note here, submit an Excel format. And I had not changed that at all. I'm going to bring this form up. So hopefully there aren't any issues with this form, but I guess let me know, because we could make changes if we need to. But yeah, I didn't make any changes to this form at all. And there is an instruction tab that has just some information about definitions and some instructions. But I'm getting too many things up now. We do just say you must specify the community's designated as focal points. And yeah, just fill out this attached file. You don't need to do anything to make this look you know, printable, just attach the Excel file as it is. I believe, looks like in the past, and I think it's a great idea, we're using it like this so that we can combine them all easily. So we can tell where all they are throughout the state. Okay, program service goals, we touched on that just a little bit. So this, I didn't change anything here either. It's to submit goals, steps of achievement, and evaluation for each service funded through OAA. And you can do a narrative or any other format that's suitable still. Just make sure that we can see those major parts. And is there anything else major to cover on this? Yeah, there is that part where there's some steps of achievement for Title D, where you have to identify the names of all the evidence-based programs or activities. So none of that's new. Did anyone have any questions about program service goals? All right, the multi-purpose senior center inventory form. That is within the area plan. I kept it there. I didn't see any need for it to not be. Did just make it where it's in portrait instead of landscape. So if you have them, please list them. If not, then just, I think we do have the note here, please write none on the form. So you can just type none in this first spot here and that'll work. So just make sure you do put something here that lets us know that you saw this and that you've addressed it. And we won't have a question about it. So I am ready for a break from talking. So Cody is going to take over talking about the nutrition program characteristics form. So I'm going to stop sharing and let him take over.
All right. Can you see that, Heather? You can answer that
Yes.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. All right. So the nutrition program characteristics form, again, didn't really change a whole lot for the instructions part. And so just keep that Excel file. And if you could send that Excel file like as a separate document, that'd be super helpful because sometimes it gets combined in the area plan itself and it's kind of hard to read in certain situations. So if you could do that, that'd be awesome. So moving forward, we have the long form and short forms again on the document itself, and that's highlighted here on the form. The long form, just use it if there's a nutrition provider that has 25 more sites or less, or more, and the short form has 25 or less. And then they're usually color coded as well, as you can see. And it's something that's kind of important to me on the like the long form and the short form themselves. If you could say what nutrition provider it is and then list all the other nutrition centers that that provider oversees, I think that's super helpful for me just so I can kind of see a picture of what providers providing what in your guys' area. That way I can kind of keep track of if there are any if there is any questions that does occur from that information. So that's really all with that. Obviously, don't modify the formulas, which that's nothing new. And then we're gonna do the summary form again. Oh, one sec. Can you hear me still? Okay. I don't want my headphones dying mid-sentence. So the summary form, I'll go to that. The thing I did change that really didn't make sense to me, and I know a lot of you had some issues with it. You don't have to match this form with the budget. My goal with kind of the AP program characteristic form is just to kind of see what the numbers look like for meals for each nutrition provider in each area. So if you could just kind of fill out like you've been doing, but the only difference is you don't have to match it. You don't have to try to match it with that budget form. So hopefully that makes sense. Just let me go back here. Okay. So just going through this, everything's the same as it is filling out this document. It has all the columns on what to put in there. So these columns here is what matches up with this on the instruction form. And it's the same formulas as well, so nothing has changed with that. That way you guys are kind of used to doing that already, so nothing new for that. And then the formulas will calculate everything in here again. And then I would say don't really worry about the numbers on that. I just kind of want to see what this looks like for each of like meal costs and total meals, average unit costs. It's just kind of helpful information for me if something ever did pop up to where I need to check that information. And then I know last year a lot of AAAs, if you could sign this form, just whoever filled this out, that way I kind of know if I do have questions, I can reach out to that person individually, just to see if I have any clarifying information. And then make sure the correct fiscal year is up here in the top. And other than that, everything is the same. So I believe that's all I got. Pretty short. Any questions before I move on? Hopefully that helps you guys more, because I know it's super time consuming trying to match those numbers up. So hopefully that helps.
Got it, thank you. Yeah, we're trying where we can to make this better. All right, so now let's move on to, excuse me, sorry. The OAA master budget, I'm just noting in the instructions to use the planning allocation to complete that master budget and what it includes. And I have some references for information. It used to be that the budget pages were within these area plan instructions, but they were about half of the instructions. And then so we decided with fiscal to separate those out, especially since they're still working on that budget form, and then we can make sure we have nice updated instructions for that. But I did want to just still call out into the instructions that make sure that they're filled out and where you can go for some resources. So the Schedule 2 capital cost justification. This form needs to be provided if purchasing of capital equipment of 5,000 or more is planned. I'm going to take a peek at that number one more time before I send this out because so there's CFR 200 and CFR 75, I think, that go over federal expectations. One of them is just for like all federal grants and awards, and the other one's specific to HHS, which is what we follow first. They still have 5,000 there. The other one has 10,000. So with everything going on at the federal level, I'm not sure. So we're just going to play it on the safe side and keep it at 5,000 till I see 10,000 on both ends. Um,
And
so
Heather, that would be very helpful if we can find out if that could be updated or not, because with the nutrition program, a lot of that commercial equipment, just the dish machines, that we have to have because of KDA, and some of the commercial freezers and refrigerators, you can't get for under 5,000 anymore, hardly.
yeah, I kind of honestly, I thought I was losing it a little bit when I was like, wait, I thought it changed and no, it's not. And
Yeah.
then I realized, oh, it's the two are different. So, yeah, we'll take a look at that again because yes, things are way more expensive now and it's a lot of extra work to fill out the form and get approval. Speaking of the form, this is what it looks like. Um, there was an older form out. It was revised a couple years ago, but I think some have maybe still been using the old form. We've got this one on the website, but we'll make sure everyone kind of gets it in a packet too. This one's a little nicer because everything's on one tab and you can see the breakdown between the different parts. And so like say for the equipment, say if you're, for example, oh, well, I'm willing to take it out of my admin. Your admin has come from one of these titles, so we'll still want it broken down by the actual title it originally came from to clear up any questions on why admin's not there. Other funding would be any funding that's not OAA related that's helping contribute to the paying for the total cost. So there are a few instructions here on how to fill out this form. And then I don't think, yeah, we do have here the note that the 5,000 applies to each item and not the sum of several individual items. And this does include capital outlays. And please verify that your budget has all your planned purchases of equipment and capital outlays on there. We do kind of look at that to cross-reference and make sure we're seeing that in the same place. All right, we're so close. Last part, area plan review checklist. This wasn't in the instructions, but I'm highlighting it. This you'll use to verify you've got all the required components of the area plan included. So we would like for you to go ahead and fill this out, go through all the spots, and I did try to add a little bit more information to this. This is now just check it if it's included or not. Some things aren't required, so I don't need a checkbox next to everything. The transmittal letter, we've got a note that there's not a template. I do have the summary of what we need to see and the optional things that you might add include like the direct service waivers and adequate proportion. So hopefully that'll be good for you to be able to look over your letter and make sure I've got all the pieces there. Just to note all the forms, we need to make sure you have your signatures where required. Area plan forms, make sure you're using the right template, your plan's typed, got your PSA number and date at the top. That especially helps us when revisions start coming in. Make sure you've got your table of contents page numbers updated. Save this as a PDF. I always throw this out to people, helpful hint, if you click save as when you're saving and then just change the type to PDF, that works way better than doing save as Adobe PDF. So try to throw out some tips when I can. And when you save it as a PDF, you could sign it at that point, because even the free versions of it have the option where you can sign and date. So you don't have to even have the editor for that one. So just wanted to throw that out there. But if you don't, that's okay. Just go ahead and send us your scanned in copy that you sign, but also please attach the PDF that we can still search through. And we've got just verifying a couple of things, just a few things to look at. Do I have all of these things correct? Did I get the application agency name there? Area plan forms. Got who it needs to be signed and dated. There's also a note. Please ensure that we have the most up-to-date authority to sign document. Also an affidavit of signature lets us know who all is approved to sign for different things. And yeah, these are just making sure I've got all my original signatures. I've got all my responses included. We've got a note that this form, this is new on the checklist. This wasn't on the checklist before, but I put it there. That way you can indicate to us if you submitted one, because just in case, what if it didn't come? What if didn't get that attachment in there? If I see a check there, but I don't see that waiver, I will email you and go, hey, was there supposed to be a waiver here? And we've got, make sure that everything has all the elements we're looking for. So I think most all of us had some of those meetings where we looked things over, and you saw my Excel sheet. I pretty much took this checklist and went through it as the high level, making sure everything is good. Verify the Excel form is included here. And then on the master budget, Cody, we decided they didn't need that for a revision, right?
Correct. Unless like a meal site changed. I would probably want to be updated on that, but that'd be the only situation.
Yeah, if the meal site changed. There we go. Perfect. All right, and then the master budget, we've just got a few things kind of to verify. You've got your adequate proportion met, your capital expenditures are included, all the schedules, which are the different sheets for the different titles, are accurate and complete. There's no errors on your vermage page. And this capital cost template, it's optional. Check the box if you're planning to include it, please. And then sign and date. So hopefully this checklist will be, it's probably something that you'll go to periodically, checking off as you get it done. Just before you go to submit, make sure you've got all your check boxes, because once we get to yours, we're looking at 11 area plans, and we're looking at them for a 4-year cycle, and me and Cody have learned a little bit, so we know a little more things to look for. This is your chance in front of us to show us everything we need to give you the approval. If we have any questions, it's going to put your area plan back at the bottom of the pile, since we'll have to contact you to ask you, those questions and get the clarification. It'll take longer to get it approved. So if there's something you're unsure of, please shoot us a quick message. Ask us about it. If you're like, hey, can you just skim this real quick and make sure this looks like about what you're looking for format wise or things, we're happy to do that too. take a little extra time to make sure everything's great and everything's included before you push the send button. All right, we made it. I will, and we'd already talked about the appendix, so now I will open it up for questions. We have a few more minutes left.
So Heather, we had one at the very beginning with Kathy. And Kathy, if you want to ask that, I just made a note that you put something in the chat.
Well, it's my understanding that the cover letter or whatever, the submittal letter previous to you was just part of the email, not a separate letter on a letterhead. And I'm just wondering, is that still the case, that an email, putting that information in the email isn't sufficient enough? It has to be a separate document.
So it looks like in the past that there's some, I've seen these actually come in all sorts of different ways. So I've seen it come in an email on an official letterhead. I've seen an Excel document too that was probably from a long time ago. It would be nice to have it separate just because we're going to save all these files. Otherwise, I'll be saving your email as a PDF anyways. So
Okay.
it doesn't have to be official letterhead, you know, I mean, that's just one example. But just something where it's really easy for me to know this is the transmittal letter and this is all the information that I'm including.
So if we do it on an email, it's just one more document to mess with, is kind of our thought process. If it's in it, we have to, if we're sending it to you, we're going to send an email to cover sheet instead of, another document to deal with. But however you want it, I mean, our preference would be one less document and just have the information in the email. But we'll
I
do it
can be
however.
I can be flexible because, I mean, really, if you send it like that, just let me know this is the transmittal letter. So I know that that's what you're indicating that is, or else I'll go, oh, I don't have it.
Okay.
And
That's what
I'll
happened
print it
last
out
time.
as a PDF. Well, I won't print it, but I'll make that email, I'll save it as a PDF anyways, because we put everything together in a folder so that we can look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can be flexible. Just
Well, I mean,
just help me know that that's what it is.
okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think I
then
saw another
Kelsey had
transmittal
one.
letter question. Yeah. Is it correct the main transmittal letter can count as both the general one and the DSW request? So that is a great question. Sometimes. Where's my checklist
I know if we need a
at?
form, that'd be a separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think historically we have always submitted two different transmittal letters, but just in this conversation, I was wondering with the checklist if they could be all in one.
They sure can.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, any other questions? And we'll take back discussing that date. I've just that you had it in the beginning, Leslie. I guess I'm just a little hesitant to lock in a date on here because if I do that, I mean that it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, you know? So
Heather, this is Leslie. I'm not asking for a date. It could be like a time frame.
mm-hmm. Well, I mean that too, you know, even a time frame, maybe So I don't want to put something that would be unreasonable. So I guess if anyone has any ideas on that, if the AAAs, if you all think that would be helpful to have in that part of the instructions instead of the when right here. I mean, maybe y'all can kind of discuss that and let me know what you think would be reasonable. We do definitely have it now, you know, to where it's, I mean, if a public comment's required, it's going to have to be 30 days, right? So I think that's probably some of why there's not numbers in there too, but feel free to discuss that, and if we need to add something, we can.
All right, thanks, Heather.
So we will make a few updates, do a little bit of testing on this just to, and I know the direct service waiver form you wanted updated, so I'll try, we'll see if we could get it done by the end of this week. Let's see if I can. But my goal was to at least email these all to you, but I want to have on the website, on our KDAD's website, a section that says area plan forms and has all these forms there. So you're not digging through that big list looking for all the random forms. And then we could maybe also have this recording there too. So I just need to talk to our communications department and get that set up. But I can email these all out to you before that happens. All right, we're right at 3 o'clock. Thank you everyone for taking an hour and a half out of your very busy schedules for this. I hope this makes it to where this is easier on our side and your side to have clear expectations so that we can have a nice, easy round this time, hopefully, where there aren't a bunch of questions back and forth.
Heather, do you expect to get the 25 numbers to us by Friday?
I'm hoping to get them to you soon. I'm really just kind of waiting to get the thumbs up that I'm able to do it. But I'm ready.
And
So,
did you say when you plan to send the new packet out for the area plan? I didn't catch it.
my goal is to send the packet out by this Friday. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks.
So hopefully if any of you have already done work, the format didn't change too much. Hopefully it won't be too bad to copy and paste and drop stuff in. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Verify we don't have to do the long and short form for the fiscal year 25 revision. I know you said we don't have to for 26, but I want to make sure for 25 we don't need to.
As long as there's no change to the providers,
Yeah.
right, Cody?
Okay.
Yeah, no, if there's no change, then yeah, you don't have to do it for a revision.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.